Hey, what's up everybody, it's your boy Proftrof and we're back again with another set video. Okay, before we start this video I just want to show you something. I found, okay, fucking camera, grab my face, you dumbass shit camera. I found one of my old fucking shirts from the start of high school. I just wanted to show it off a little bit. Okay, look at this shit. Look at the zipper. Look at the zipper. Also, another very good thing about this shirt is it allows me to cosplay as a condom. Look. It allows me to cosplay as a condom. Fucking amazing. Anyway, let's get back to the video shit. Seth released a video yesterday, I think. So we're gonna be checking that out, of course. Okay, of course. This is Pharaoh review. I have no fucking idea what this shit is. So let's check it out.
Hey people, Seth here. Are you tired of the stressful world of modern video games? Do you want something a little more relaxing? Well, this isn't the game for you, because it's been 5 minutes since you checked the religion tab, and Osiris, to put it lightly, is quite upset. Better build a dozen shrines and beg forgiveness. Get cursed anyway. Lose all your crops. Go into an endless feedback loop of famine, which leads to emigration, which leads to more famine. Because once you start the cycle, you don't have enough workers to stop it. Go into debt. Pay interest on your debt. Go bankrupt. Refuse to give up. Rebuild your finances. Rebuild your faith. Rebuild your city. And then learn about the interesting life cycle of grasshoppers, which, at a certain population density, pump huge amounts of serotonin and transform into locusts. Lose all your crops again. Quit the game and swear you'll never play again. Welcome to Pharaoh. Released 20 years ago by Impressions Games, Pharaoh is considered as one of the most developed, functional, and unforgiving of city builders. To play, you need to rename your music folder and manually play the music on shuffle and repeat, because otherwise it's gonna crash in 5 minutes. Otherwise, it runs pretty damn good on modern spyware.
Wait,
it doesn't use many resources, so I can focus my CPU cycles into sending my personal use in 5 minutes. Otherwise, it runs pretty damn good on modern spyware. It doesn't use many resources, so I can focus my pretty damn good on modern spyware. It does
Google Chrome, OBS, okay, Discord, no more. What the heck is Kaspersky antivirus?
Use many resources, so I can focus my CPU cycles into sending my personal information to the CCP. To play the actual game, you need to make a family line, a dynasty to follow and develop across the historical progression of the campaign, from the earliest foundations of civilization on the Nile Valley to the triumphant heights of its golden age. It's a lot of fun. It's also deceptively simple, and quickly ramps up in difficulty and complexity until any faith you ever had in your city planning abilities are completely wiped out, leaving only a deep-seated feeling of anguish, despair, and incompetence. Don't worry, I've been there. When I built myself a personal mansion and paid myself a pharaoh's salary, thinking that somehow I outsmarted the Egyptian monetary system. Only later did I realize I wasn't making money. I was taking money from my own treasury to pay myself so I could put it back into my own treasury. My profound economic genius did not go unnoticed, because in several months' time, the real Pharaoh attacked my city to save my people from extreme retardation. In the beginning, your only concerns are food, water, and preventing your mud hut from spontaneously combusting. In ancient Egypt, most forms of architecture have a habit of exploding into blazing fireballs that will eventually consume your entire city. Historians attribute this to the fact that Egypt is closer to the sun. As such, every street corner requires an architect and a fire station, because without them, in a few milliseconds, my city will look like this. Your needs grow with the people.
This kind of reminds me of Tropico, but you're in Egypt and It's a 20-year-old game.
And you always need more people to run the city. This process is encouraged by the fact that as you satisfy their needs, dwellings will upgrade automatically, both visually and mechanically, as they accommodate wealthier residents. Your reward for a well-managed city is a city that doesn't look like shit. So, unless you want to stare at mud huts all day, we need to talk about the essentials of Egyptian life. Ancient Egypt invented many great things, such as crime and punishment. The mark of an advanced civilization is a police station. Unfortunately, Pharaoh was an older game in the series, which still worked on the principle of employers having to manually find their employees. This means they have to walk out, and if they don't find any housing, they can't access the labor pool. In the residential sector, this is no problem. In the industrial sector, I don't have an easy way of saying this, but I am compelled by the mechanics of the game to form a ghetto. Yes, there's more ethical ways to reach the workforce, but it's far easier and more convenient for me to simply gentrify the population centers. After all, what do they have to complain about? Jobs are plentiful. Taxation.
Wait, what the fuck? 52% tax rate?
What do they have to complain about? Jobs.
Oh no, tax rate's 9%, 52% kingdom rating. I was like, 52% tax? Jesus, Seth. Jesus.
Jobs are plentiful, taxation is fair, and undisclosed income will be recovered one way or another back to the better part of a city. One of the most central parts of life in ancient Egypt was religion. Each city recognizes a number of central parts of life in ancient Egypt was religion. Each
the fuck is 30 Frank doing over there?
City recognizes a number of different gods, and they demand worship. There's obviously more, but in Pharaoh, you worship one of the big five: Osiris, Ra, Ta, Set, and Bast, which respectively control the flood, the kingdom, pottery, destruction, and secondary toxoplasmosis transmitted by your cat. Make them happy, and you'll get a blessing. That usually helps your city, unless it's a blessing from Ta. Don't worry, mortal, I've resupplied your workshops. What's that? You don't have a weaver, jeweler, or shipmaker? Well then, my work here is done. Oh, that's a nice empty storage yard you have there. I'm gonna fill it with clay. Appeasing the gods isn't easy. You'll need to develop OCD and check the religion tab every few seconds to see how long you have until the next meltdown. Gods have to be honored by throwing festivals as often as physically possible. You see, the only way to delay divine punishment is getting shit-faced and drinking copious amounts of alcohol. When you vomit, Osiris smiles. Don't be surprised. Ancient Egyptian mythology is very colorful, and I think that's best depicted in the Osiris myth. Most of my retelling comes from the Plutarch account, which has its own issues, but we largely had to piece this all together. Ancient Egyptians believed that words carried power, so the more negative or unsavory parts of stories were often never recorded, because simply writing them...
Okay, I was just about to read that. Is Bulgaria over there? Hey, we're not getting nuked.
Would manifest the words into reality. Anyway, it goes like this.
Okay, wait. Turkey's pretty close to us, so if they nuke Turkey, we can't get fucked. Hey, can you not nuke Turkey, or at least nuke the...
Osiris rules over Egypt. Set didn't like that, so he invites him to a dinner party, during which he loudly proclaims there's a
what was that shit? I saw some fucked up shit.
Dinner party, during which he loudly proclaims there's a gift at the end. It's a chest, but he'll only give it to whoever fits inside. Every guest tries the chest, but none of them fit except Osiris. As he hops into the chest, Set and his goons lock him inside, decapitate and dismember him into 42 pieces.
Oh, that's the dude that was spread everywhere. I remember there was like this mummy show when I was little. Animation, I remember what it was. Tutankhamun, I think. That was pretty cool. I remember they had, you know, looking for parts over there. It was kind of interesting.
And throw him downriver. Osiris's grieving wife Isis and his side hoe Nephis team up to find the missing pieces, including his dismembered penis. In one version, they find everything except his penis, which has, of course, been devoured by a fish. This may explain the lack of fish in ancient Egyptian diets, probably because...
probably the only god that got a deep throat by a fish.
As far as they were concerned, they were dick eaters. Isis naturally asks Thoth god of magic, to make him a new penis instead, the dimensions of which were never stated. At this point, they preserve a body, making him the first mummy. Then Isis posthumously bangs Osiris's undead body and gets knocked up. However, Osiris is incomplete, so he pieces out.
I mean, you can't pull out if you're dead, I guess.
And goes on to become king of the afterlife. Isis gives birth to Osiris's son, Horus. In the meantime, Seth has usurped control of the kingdom. That is, until Horus grows up and challenges him for the throne of Egypt. This takes almost 80 years, during which they transform into hippos and
that shit had more fillers than Naruto.
Fight the shit out of each other. Isis attempts to intervene and harpoon Set, but accidentally stabs her son instead. In a perfectly natural response to your mom accidentally harpooning you, Horus decapitates his mother. Don't worry, it's not fatal, as Thoth steps in, slaps the stump, and replaces it with a head of a cow, which is why Isis is often depicted so. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, Set sexually assaults Horus. I mean, we went from dick-eating fish to this. Did you really think it would be safe for work just because it's Egypt? Let me give you some context. Ancient Egyptians believed semen was a very potent substance. In other words, poison.
They ain't
Set came inside Horus, which made him physically ill, and made Set a homosexual. Except no homo, because it's all about power dynamics and gymnastics with these people. Horus survives because he caught the semen. With what? With his hands, of course. I imagine he just slapped it away. Then Isis straight up puts Horus's semen on lettuce. Man, don't judge, okay? Find you a mom that cares.
How accurate is this shit? It seems crazy enough where it might actually be accurate. And if it is accurate, Egypt, you're a different place, okay? Egypt.
Mom that'll help you prank your friend by putting a little extra seed in his salad. Set consumes the cum cabbage and gets impregnated by his rival. Set loses the throne of Egypt, and Horus takes his rightful place on the throne because, well, after eating another dude's nut, getting your own torn off, and tearing out his eyeballs only to proverbially give birth to them once again is kind of a low blow to your reputation. And that is the Osiris myth. And bet they never teach that shit in schools. It's also relevant because Pharaoh is seen as the physical incarnation of Horus. But back to religion. The gods are fickle. You've got local deities and you've got your patron god. Local deities need temples or they get pissed. If a local deity has more temples than another, the other one gets pissed. If the number of temples for each local deity and the patron god are identical, the patron god gets pissed. Satisfying the gods is a delicate balancing act of wasting all your money on temples but never spending too little or too much that they get jealous and burn your city to the ground. Aside from the spiritual need for faith, your people have a physical need for entertainment. This is where being illiterate really hurts. If you haven't read tutorials, you'll know how to place the entertainers, but no idea how to place the venues. If it shows red, that's because your road is wrong. But how do you make it right? Well, as a child, I made every road shape possible until finally one of them snapped in place and became green. Once you've got that down, entertainment is sorted. Look at them. Not a phone in sight. Just people living in the moment, dying of malaria. Unless you want your entire workforce to be wiped out by a plague, consider implementing universal health care everywhere except the ghetto. Insurance coverage doesn't extend to my work camps because the cheapest cure for malaria is to delete the household, which is a good time to mention that if you right-click on someone...
Oh, my stomach. Oh, my head.
They'll tell you their personal feelings about the city.
I can't find a place.
Yeah, this is so similar to Tropico. I mean, okay, Tropico is so similar to this, because like this was 500 years ago.
At any given time.
I've been kicked out of my home and through no fault of my own.
Advance further and your people will demand more. Pottery, beer, recreation, education, a working legal system to complain about the state of police brutality. And if you give them enough of these goods and services, they'll turn into nobles. Say goodbye to half your workforce because these guys don't do heavy labor. But their estates are absolutely beautiful. Pharaoh was a very aesthetic game, and it still is. You've got a lot of options for beautification, from plazas to gardens to statues you can choose and rotate by pressing the R key. Primarily, you're going to use them to inflate property values, but there's also another lesser-known purpose to statues, dealing with wild animals. Normally, the only response to an animal fatality is police brutality. If an animal is not beaten, a citizen gets eaten. However, you can block off predators by surrounding them with several dozen pickle sphinx statues. This method only applies to members of the animal kingdom, which doesn't include water demons. Do you know how many police officers it takes to kill one hippopotamus? I tested this. I lose 5 men for every hippo. I could send in...
Seems actually pretty accurate. I mean, hippos are fucking tanks. You're not just killing a hippo with a whip, okay? That shit is probably gonna fuck you up.
In the army, but then they run to water and toggle God mode. I've learned to accept that there's nothing I can do about this, except increase the music volume to try and drown out the screaming. With development comes prosperity. Trade is an essential component of any city, and without profitable exports, you're going to run out of money. Don't worry, if this happens, Pharaoh will send you a stimulus check, because he's literally printing his own money. I recommend declaring bankruptcy at least once each mission. Hey, it's free money, and I'm gonna take it. Anyway, each city can only make certain goods. Everything else you're gonna have to import. Not only that, but your neighbors and the pharaoh himself might make requests of your city. On paper, it's a gift. In reality, it's an obligation. Oh, you didn't send food when we had a famine? Then forget about trading, because my people are dead. You know those blocks of sandstone you never delivered? They're still...
I'll be honest with you, that seems reasonable. I cannot trade anymore because I'm dead.
Missing from my pyramid, and if you don't meet the second deadline, your shoulders will be missing a head. Even with trade, there's still the issue of balancing your budget. Your people have to be paid after all. To this end, you need to build a palace. Without a palace, your palace cannot be robbed. It also allows you to make tax collectors. Tax collectors exist to be shanked in the open street while everyone watches. They're essential for your city. This game taught me an important lesson. Economics is a closed loop. All the wages you ever spend, you get back through taxation, which at 9% is fair and stable. Pump it too high and your city will quickly become a ghost town. I tested this, and unfortunately, you can't build a tax prison, whereby you lure immigrants into your city with low taxation, then suddenly pump the tax rate to 25, and prevent them from leaving with a double-layer thick perimeter of solid stone. It turns out the desire to emigrate is so strong that people simply phase through walls, reinforcing the theory that even lower on Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the physiological requirement for a human being to evade taxation. Ancient Egypt was a real powerhouse and evoked a lot of jealousy. I would be too if I lived in a desert. Understandably, they're here to take your crops and murder you. Invasions are common.
James Harden?
Understandably, they're here to...
No, it's not James Harden. Who the fuck is this guy?
To take your crops and murder you. Invasions are common, so combat is inevitable. And I'll be real with you, it's not very good. Most of it boils down to how many bodies and planks of wood can I throw at the enemy. That is, until you get chariots, which were considered by many during the time period to be imbalanced, pay-to-win bullshit. Alternatively, you could just pray to Set. So once your enemies reach the map, they'll fall to the ground and be recorded as a COVID death. Above all, Egyptian civilization revolved around one thing: building the sickest tombs. Think of the richest man alive right now in Anno Domini 2020. Now consider that he hasn't even prepared a modest mastaba to serve as his mausoleum. The ancient Egyptians believed that the afterlife was a complicated affair. First you die, then you're judged. You tell the gods the 42 sins you haven't committed, and your heart is weighed against a feather, known as mayat or balance. It's all metaphorical, and essentially, live a bad life and your heart is devoured. Live a good life and you get to go on to the field of reeds, where everyone, regardless of status, gets the same patch of farmland. To put it simply, the field of reeds is a socialist heaven. That's why Egyptians often buried food, drink, and other valuables with their dead, because you'll need it for the journey. That's why they also got so upset about grave robbers, because, think about it, if you're stealing shit from a pharaoh, you're actually stealing shit he needs in the afterlife. It's like you're playing Gmod Survival, but with God. But God's multiplayer session doesn't have anti-cheat, and as you try to chow down a fig, it fucking despawns. So you reach for another, it also despawns. And now you're naked. Egyptian life was as much about living as it was preparing for the next one, which is why most of the later missions will have you preparing your own funeral as you wait literal years for the pyramids to finish construction. At this point, there's no shame in using cheats. The Giza pyramids are actually so goddamn big that even cheat codes can't finish them. They can only speed them up. Luckily, the Cleopatra expansion has none of that. Thanks to the long-term threat of burglary, you'll be building tombs into the rock instead. Inside the Valley of Kings. It's really more of the same, except some guy called Moses keeps messing with the RGB settings of your river, and will continue to do so until Pharaoh finally has enough and decides to free the Jews. This game also comes with a surprisingly functional and intuitive map editor. I even made one myself, with a custom script that generates crime every month of the year to try and simulate the average inner city neighborhood of a new world. As a game that's nearly
He made a fucking tower defense map.
Older than most of the people on this platform, it's still got the best soundtrack, the best visuals, and the most functional design of all city builders. Pharaoh, like the pyramids, was built to last, and I give it my highest recommendation. It is by no means easy, but all things worth doing are difficult. And what's the most difficult thing of all? Maintaining civilization. Yet, no civilization can ever thing of all.
My guy, how do you drive a car at 15 miles an hour? You see someone in front of you a minute ago and you're like, he's gonna move. He's not moving. Okay, I go through.
But
Fuck you,
all
ram the
things
shit out
worth
of him.
doing are difficult. And what's the most difficult thing of all? Maintaining civilization. Yet, no civilization can ever last. Empires rise and empires fall, and so did Egypt to the Roman Empire. Caesar Free is practically a carbon copy of Pharaoh, but hey, Roman religion was pretty much a carbon copy of the Greeks, and I'm gonna get to them in the future. On the other hand, they did invent shitposting. It's maybe comforting or humbling to remember that
Pompeii and Herculaneum graffiti. Whip you girls, my penis has given you up. Now it penetrates men's behinds. Goodbye, wondrous femininity. Sounds Greek enough. I'm joking, chill. Theophilus, don't perform oral sex on girls against my city wall like a dog. We two dear men, friends forever, we're here. If you want to know our names, they are Gaius and Iulus. The one who buggers a fire burns his penis. True. Philoros is a eunuch. Secundus defecated here.
no matter how much time has passed between us, the hopes, dreams, and motivations of fellow humans remain very much the same. The only difference is that instead of spending your time killing Nubians, you'll be spending your time killing the Scottish. Caesar Free was very progressive for its time, as it accepted the harsh truth that you could bring civilization to Britain, but you could never bring Britain to civilization. Unlike Pharaoh, most of the messages you get, but you could never bring Britain to civilization. Unlike Pharaoh, most of the messages you get are actually animated. The voice acting is way better.
If more food doesn't arrive soon, there won't be anyone left to pay any tax.
Combat
be having
doesn't
that
suck
shit.
ass, and it actually runs on modern systems. Despite all this, it is 1 year older than Pharaoh.
What?
So, what's the downside? Well, there's no monuments. But on the bright side, there's no monuments. Overall, if you're concerned about hypertension, Caesar Free is the better option. It's not the anxiety-inducing disaster spiral that is Pharaoh, but I also highly recommend it. It's a wonderful game about the greatest of empires.
You got through those funds quickly. Try to make these new funds last longer.
But like any empire, it too had to collapse. The fall of the Roman Empire sent us tumbling into the Dark Ages, a long period of technological decline where the only video game you had was Dark Souls, and it took us nearly 1,000 years for humanity to finally recover. If you're interested, GOG isn't selling a bundle. Activision flaked out. Cover. If you're interested, GOG isn't.
Oof. Oh, it's not that bad. Only 12%.
Selling a bundle. Activision flaked
Pretty
out.
cheap.
So instead, use my link and you get a discount on not only Pharaoh, but also Caesar Free and pretty much every game I've ever sold on GOG. Enjoy. As always, more content to come. Every game I've ever sold on GOG. Enjoy. As always.
Porto Safarian. This definitely looks like a hentai game.
Always more content to come next year. Merry Christmas. We don't celebrate Christmas here because we killed Jesus, but don't let that stop you. A warm thanks to the many members of a Merchants Guild generously funding and bankrolling these videos for over 2 years now, which I neither expect nor deserve, but I count my blessings and I'll try to make it worth your time. Please take care of yourselves, stay safe, and happy holidays.
Oi! They stomped the dude out. What the fuck? Anyway, this was Seth's new review. Is there any shit here? No. Let me know what y'all think. Has anyone played Pharaoh? Post your comments down below and I'll see you next time, buddy. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. See ya.